Hi everyone, I'm Vone Kevitz, knit and crochet designer for One of a Kind Makers Who Dare to Be Original, and I am on here with the beautiful Maree from Skeinz.com.
Yep, that's right. Skeinz.com.
Maree, tell people a little bit about yourself.
So I'm one of a group of people that own a spinning mill and a retail store here in New Zealand. So this mill is called Design Spun Limited, and it's been around for about 34 years. And its retail store was created and rebranded to Skeinz. It'll be 10 years in May. Gosh, I don't know where that's gone. And I've looked after that. I created that and looked after that the entire time. So that's sort of my day job. And then I also run a retreat, an event every year called Knit August Nights. And I bring out international knit tutors to New Zealand, as well as the best of local talent every year. And we get about 300 people to come and tutor and do that every year. Yeah. So,
yeah. So you recruit, your live event recruits international knitters, like so
yeah,
all over?
Yeah, so we get about 300 participants. I knew this was going to happen. I did lock the door, but my dog is pushed in. So if you hear craziness, it's the dog. I get about 300 people attend the event, and then I have about and so it's like a little mini, if you can imagine Vogue Knitting Live or Stitches, but miniaturized. That's what I do. So the New Zealand version of that. So I've had people like last year. I had Stephen B. He came out. I had Nathan Taylor Sockmatician the year before that, Charles Gandy the year before that, plus some fantastic tutors from Australia, plus the best of local talent. So it's loads of fun. Keeps me busy.
Oh my God. I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity. Am I talking to a celebrity and I don't even know? I must be.
Not at all.
Let me tell you a little bit about my history. I've only come to know Maree and Skeinz and your story for this week.
Yeah,
because a friend of mine on Instagram shared your video to me. And your video was about how the SJWs have just kind of infiltrated your world. And so I want to definitely talk a little bit about that. But the reason why you even came on my radar is because a year ago, when the knitting community went crazy, right? In January with I
would actually argue that they were going crazy before that, but yeah.
This is the thing, because I was not aware of any of this. I'm still such I'm still so new to this world because I purposefully remove myself from such a world. You know what I mean? Like I just keep I protect my glass of water. I put a lid on it. I don't let the junk and the muck and the gook from the outside crazy into my world. So I really protect my glass of water. But I woke up. So back in January of last year, I woke up with at 2 a.m. on my Instagram, because that's always the fun time to flip up your phone at 2 a.m. on Instagram. And I saw a post that said the knitting community is racist.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, what? And then I had to put my phone down. I was like, what? Why did I open this phone at 2 a.m. to this post? And that was my first awakening to what is going on. And so when I saw that, and then I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, I'm in the knitting community, and I have a Facebook group of 1,000 women, because it's females only. 1,000 women are in there, and not just knitters and crocheters, mostly knitters and crocheters, because I'm a knitter and crocheter, but it's all kinds of craft, artisans, jewelry maker. It's called Dare to Be Original. It's love on handmade, right? And we all love and support one another. So in that Facebook group of 1,000 women that I engaged with for the past, I guess, 4 years at the time, because we're on the 5th year now, so 4 years, the diversity is ridiculous. It's global. And I mean, we have Martians in that group. That's how diverse this group is, right? And so to read that statement, it was jarring for me. And I'm like, no, it's not. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so I tried to follow like who these victims are, and they're saying, go support this person, you know, and go love on this person because they've been victims of this racism. So I went to the first person that they told me to check out, and I checked her out, and then I saw her latest post, and right in the caption of her latest post, this is the person the victim of racism that I'm supposed to be supporting. The caption said, in the first line, white people don't know how to apologize. And Maree, that's when I put the phone down.
Yeah.
The second time I put the phone down.
Not good reading at 2 a.m.
It's probably a 2:05 right now. And this is the second time I put the phone down. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so then that's when I was like, okay, I need to say something. I'm a leader of 1,000 women in the Facebook group. So I was like, I need to say something on this topic, you know? And I put out a diversity video, and then I removed the poison. Like I made a video. I said, this is my common sense video, guys. You know, we are all autonomous human beings. There is no issue. There is no problem. Don't let the crazies into your world and ruin your creativity.
Mm.
And I thought that was a common sense video enough. And then I stepped away. And then 6 months later, or in July, and Ravelry puts out a policy statement saying, you know, it's one thing to say that you don't want some type of person in your group, like how I say no boys allowed in my Facebook group. It's one thing to say that, but then to go another step further, right in the policy, to say that all Trump supporters are open white supremacists.
Yeah.
Like that is the line that you've crossed.
Which in a country like yours is potentially 50% of your membership. I mean, so for people that don't know, I'm in New Zealand, so we're quite a long way, but I'm very aware of American politics. I lived in the US as a student for a number of years. I travel frequently back between the two nations, so I'm very aware of what goes on. And you're right though. I mean, the moment for you to see that statement would have been what's going on. And as a business, I mean, for us, it first started 15 months ago, and we were starting to get pressure, you know, loads of people saying to us firstly as the retail store, and then also for me with the event, when are you going to publish your diversity statement? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I don't understand what you're talking about. Your diversity statement of who's welcome? Well, everybody's welcome. How hard is
People
that?
were coming up to you and asking, like, they were like, when are you gonna? Because they wouldn't support you if you didn't like.
Pretty much, yeah. So then of course I made the fatal mistake of questioning why do I need a diversity statement? And pretty much I was told that without one, therefore I'm racist. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
See, I didn't go to college, so I missed this whole postmodern feminist movement. You know, I'm a pragmatic farmer's daughter, so I was just like, what? I don't understand. You know,
it's really crazy. What is that? So 15 months ago, was that around that time of did it start with that blog?
So this was around sort of October, November last year. We started seeing grumblings of it, and a lot of the grumblings that we were seeing is we also, because again we're in this part of the world, so we have our community down here, and then but New Zealanders are always very global thinkers because we do live in the bottom of the world. But
right, you kind of have to you kind of have to call everybody over.
So we and even though we're theoretically a flightless bird, we do actually travel a lot. So the other nation that we look to a lot is the United Kingdom. So and there was a lot of stuff starting to happen up there and grumblings going on up there that we were sort of being made aware of, and discussions, again, particularly in Instagram, around and then also in circles and groups within the UK, and talking about different things. And we were sort of like, oh, this is all, we don't understand what's going on. What's happening with this. And so this whole a wave of businesses and makers and designers all started putting out these diversity statements sort of around October, November of 2018. And so it was, so for us, we were like, well, we don't see why. It's
so then the blog happened around January.
And then Karen Templar put her blog out in January, and I think that's the thing. The tinderbox had already been, like, the fire, the whole conditions for it had already been set for about, I think, 3 to 6 months prior to that. So I feel, I've never met Karen, I've never communicated with her, but boy, did I feel sorry for her. She unfortunately, unwittingly set a spark off that just completely imploded. I think
she just happened to be at the right place at the right time, because they were obviously fishing.
Yeah.
So that actually fascinates me, because this makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
This absolutely makes so much sense. I'm kind of just been piecing everything together, because like I said, that the knitting community is racist was my first thing about it. And then I followed that person, or I investigated. I didn't follow, because clearly I'm not going to follow that junk, because racism is racism, and it's wrong all the time.
Yeah.
It is wrong all the time, one way or another. When you judge a human being by the color of their skin, you are a racist, and it is wrong. It doesn't mean that one side is special and one side gets an exemption. It is wrong 100% all of the time. When you judge a human being by the color of their skin, you are in the wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but it's also the exemption as well.
It doesn't matter if you're judging a human by the color of the skin. You are racist and you are wrong.
Yeah,
right?
And it is just so tough, because they're making those exemptions, but they put the exemption in there, except if you're white.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm quarter Maree, so I'm quarter Polynesian, so but I'm also half Irish. So as you can see, I definitely throw to the more Irish side of my complexion. But I am from a multiracial family, and I've been told by SJWs that I'm not allowed to actually claim my Polynesian heritage or have an understanding of what it's like to be part of an Indigenous group, because I'm outwardly white. So how is that not a racist statement?
Oh my God, you just throw in big words. So I don't know if I just want to I'm actually really piecing what you're saying is really making sense to me. I'm saying you're eye-opening for me, because when I read that blog, and because I was like, who? Because when I made my diversity video, I was just saying, if a blogger, said something horrible, then let the blogger go down for it. If the magazine that she published for allowed it, then let the magazine go down. Don't blame the whole community. Like, don't throw the whole baby in the bathwater all the way out at the same time. Like, don't do all that, right? I was like, because that's wrong. So after I made that video, and then I came back and I read, and then I did further investigation, and then I found the blog that caused all this. I found the blogger, and I read it, and then I read it again, and then I read it 3 times, because English is my second language. So, in case I missed something, all those 3 ways, I read it 3 times, and I'm like, that blog is as benign as drinking a glass of water.
I know. I mean, she was talking about her upcoming holiday.
A glass of water.
Yeah.
And so but Maree, I made the mistake, because I didn't realize that. When I saw that it was benign as drinking a glass of water, and I just thought, this is crazy. These people obviously were dealing with crazies, and I didn't know why so if they've been brewing up about this in our knitting community since November, October, then they've been fishing. They've been fishing for something. You know what I mean? They've been waiting.
It is certainly through 2019 that has been the case, because you've seen that. I mean, Kate Davies in the UK, I mean, she received death threats. You had, obviously Nathan Taylor at Sockmatician is one that people know about. And then he's in the UK, but in the US, Maria Tuscan, which of course she came out saying exactly what you're saying with Karen's blog. I don't get it. I don't understand.
It's so funny. I just met, I just got to know Tuscan
Maree, yeah.
Recently, like a couple of weeks ago. So so I did and I knew Nathan's story because Nathan happened right after my Ravelry video. So I put out the Ravelry video, and it was the hardest week of my life. It was an hour long of me explaining why I voted for a president that protects human life at the time. I'm pro-life. And so I'm not into politics. I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm a God-loving child that wants to protect you know what I mean, children.
And you voted on a single issue, which is your right.
I'm a single issue voter, and because I'm a single issue voter, Ravelry called me a white supremacist, and I was like, that is wrong. You know what I mean? That policy is wrong, and I knew, and I'm like, so I put the video out explaining my story, and I had so much love. I had some hate. I had some, I had all that, that other world, and involved in that story. And right around that time was when I saw Nathan's poem. Yeah. And then that's when somebody like shared it with me and said, you need to check out, now look at them. They're attacking their own. Like, he has been championing their cause for the longest time, to the point where he even created a hashtag that they've used and toted forever. And now he put out a poem, and which was so clever and so smart and so witty. That poem was like, it should have just been like grafted and framed, because it was such a clever and smart poem to bring back and to unite, to mend, and to start a healing process. And I just thought, wow, this is great. And to watch the comments, the vitriol, the berating, the evil that was coming through, I'm like, I can't understand this. How can anybody wish any such atrocity on another human being? Like, how can somebody celebrate and clap at somebody else's pain? I don't understand that. I still can't.
No, and Nathan's situation was,
I don't understand that.
Nathan's situation for me was very, very personal, because he is a friend of mine, and he is someone that I've brought to New Zealand. I spend a lot of time with him. I'm in communication with him all of the time, both him and his sister, and watching all of this unfold from halfway around the world, and to see, I mean, and also I know from a personal level, like in the community that I live in here, the knitting community in New Zealand, and actually I'm going to preface this and say the online knitting community, because I think that the community, often you have different strata in a community, and the knitting community is one where you have a lot of people that take inspiration and community and camaraderie online, and they use that as a tool. But I think the large majority of the knitting community isn't online. So there's a huge chunk of them that aren't aware. So in New Zealand, we're a country of 4.8 million people, so we're not very big. So you break that down to a community, and then the online knitting community, that's then a very small number. And that small number, these people. So it's not as if they're an anonymous tag or somebody that you may see or follow on Instagram. You actually know these people personally. You see them,
you know the humans.
You know the content of their character. These are people that you know. And so in my position, because I attend a lot of these shows, I have the event that I have, I know so many of these people. And Nathan traveled around New Zealand. I put together a tour for him around New Zealand to various regions to also teach. I mean, some of the nastiest vitriol directed towards Nathan were from people in which he stayed in their homes. They know him personally. They know the content of his heart. They know he is not a racist person. They know all of these things, but they are so indoctrinated with this ideology that it's the ideology or nothing. And it is so sad. It has taken away the humanity, I think, of people, and it's awful. They're just judging people by an ideology, a color of their skin, or a single idea, and not actually understanding that people are complex. I mean, if we were all the same, I mean, we'd be automaton, you know, we're not robots, we're people, you know.
Yeah, and we're all different, and we're all unique, and we to blanketly judge anybody as a group, as a whole, is wrong all the time. Always.
Yeah.
You know, what do I say? Like, I am not like any other woman that you've ever met. I am not like any other Asian you've ever met, and I'm not like any other Christian you've ever met. I'm an individual.
Yeah.
So judge me by my character, by my content, you know what I mean? And not by what you assume as everybody else, like as a whole. I'm an individualist. I judge a human for the human, not by their family, not by their country, not by their continent, you know, and so if somebody experiences something negatively, that is between them and the individual, them and the human, and that is the interaction one way. So to say, so it's so funny because now that I'm in, so fast forward, so I saw what happened with Nathan, and then but that was around the same time as my Ravelry, and then we recovered from that, you know, and then we're on, and I've made some really great new friends from that, you know, and then so about a month ago, so we're in February, we're just hitting April, so about end of February, early March, my diversity video has
I watched this.
It's retrended again. And then I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, is this issue not like, because now that green sock, did you hear about the green sock thing?
No, I will be quite honest with you. For somebody who spends a lot of her working life in social media, I don't spend a lot of time reading and involved in social media. So
that's how my video came about. So I guess the SJWs are just so Blue Mouse, for I think her name is Emily. I don't want to get that wrong, but Blue Mouse has a YouTube video that she just put out. So this must have been a whole year of, you know, this SJW crazy, right? That she just got to the point where she is this beautiful 20-something, early 20s, successful, thriving yarn knitting. I'm not sure if she makes yarn or does whatever, but she's in the knitting and she's full-time successful in her yarn world. I think she's a yarn dyer, I'm not sure, but she just put out a YouTube video saying, I'm over this. I'm over all of this bullying. I'm tired. Right? She goes, I should have, I'm sorry to Maree Tuscan. I'm sorry that I didn't stand up. I'm sorry to Nathan that I didn't stand up. I knew it was wrong what was happening with them, and I apologize. So I guess with that video that she got so fed up, she's like, she got so fed up. This broke my heart. She got so fed up that she said something. She said the worst line that I've ever heard, offense I've ever heard on a video. It just broke my heart to the point where I'm now back in it and I'm full force. Now I'm like, okay, I'm in it to win it, because SJWs come at me. I'm tired. I watched this cancer metastasize in our knitting community for over a year, and I thought it would dissolve itself. But now it's grown to this point where this beautiful young 20-something who has her own entrepreneur, doing exactly what she was made to do, say, this place has now brought me such, like, taken away my joy to the point where I'm going to go look for a day job. I'm going to stop what I'm doing, take some time off, and go get a job. And I was like, what? I was like, no. No, you know what I mean?
It's
like, what have they done? What have they done?
So I mean, we've for us, we've received, because we've received probably, I think the term I hear over there from you guys is pile-on. I just call them attacks because that's what they are. We've probably had 5 in the last 14, 15 months. The SJWs like to call them disagreements or discussion. And I guess for the first few times, yeah, maybe you would try and have a conversation. And we've learnt so much in that time. And every time we've had our own sort of events and our own social media that have created storms within them. But what led me to make the video that you came across was finally we tried to sort of keep a dignified silence the entire time, because we know our customer base, the large core of our customer base, don't sit with that SJW ideology.
Right.
And so we need to be, as a business, aware of that, and we need to be able to make sure that we provide a stance as as ourselves so they can feel comfortable, because we want them to feel safe in our online communities and in our store and the like. And so we always, so we would never wade in whenever there was a new pile-on going on, or whenever there was a new when they perceived that we'd done something wrong, which seemed to be every second week some days. We just always, we would either deflect or ignore or try and keep positive and just carry on and stay focused. And I use the term silent voices. There are a lot of silent voices out there, like your friend or like this girl who has been sitting on the sidelines watching all of this go on, just quietly appalled and often too terrified to speak up, because they see what's happened and they think, gosh, this can't be me. And in our case here in New Zealand, we've had a situation under the lockdown. We've got quite a stringent lockdown here. We went into it much sooner than the United States, and we got permission. There are some businesses that were able to seek permission to be able to sell product, of which we got. And we said, right, we're now open for business. And I was aware that this would set them off. I mean, I can't do anything.
Because you've already been attacked so many times.
Yeah. I mean, and what really prompted my video this time is it was the same voices. And somebody, and this is a really classic example of it, in one of the threads they said to me, I can't believe you've said this. All we're doing is disagreeing with you and trying to start a discussion. It's like, yes, but when you disagree with me again and again and again and again, and you don't enter into a discussion, you just tell us what's going on. There's no discussion. It is statement. It is rhetoric. It's from the same voices. And these voices aren't our customers anyway. I mean, they've already vowed and declared that they hate us. They've already vowed and declared they would never shop with us. But they still feel that they can waltz into our social media space and let them know their disagreement or what they don't like. And I just decided, in this environment at the moment as a nation, where we need to stay strong, be kind, be calm, try and stay focused and positive, use our craft to make us feel good, it had to stop. I said and I needed to, the timing was right. I had to talk to my colleagues, because I'm not in this business on my own. And whatever, even if I did it, made a statement from my other entity, the event, which is completely mine. I'm, people know me in this country for the two. So I said to the team, I said, look, how do you guys feel about me now publicly coming out, calling a stop to this horse shit, essentially? And they were like, yep, let's do it. And we've, for every nasty comment, message or email that we've received, we've probably had now at least 30 positive ones. And that has now told me that those voices, they've had enough. They want to protect the resource and the business that they love. They're sick of all of this. They just want a community where they can, especially in a time like now. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how this virus is going to play out. We don't know any of those things. You can only control your actions. When you can't control your environment, control your actions. And so by me saying, no, actually, I need to keep this community safe. We want to share, we want to knit, we want to inspire. And look, if that's your opinion, fine. Go to a group that shares those opinions with you, but don't share those opinions with us. I've told you I don't want to hear them. We're not interested. Go elsewhere.
So oh my God. Maree, I absolutely love this. Hey, Elena. Thank you for the prayer. And she wants to know if you have a YouTube channel. And yes, Maree does have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, and it's just called Skeinz, Skeinz. If you put that up, you will see me.
Yes.
I talk a lot, I'm afraid. I generally talk about knitting, though. I tend not to talk about anything too controversial or political. I talk about knitting and what I'm up to and cooking, and sometimes it's technical, sometimes it's rambling. My dogs and children, it's as we were saying, Vone, you do it completely off the cuff and it's not scripted. I'm exactly the same. Sometimes the kids turn up, I forget to turn the phone off and the phone rings. It can be a bit disastrous, but it's okay.
It's so funny because so that my original diversity video started trending and everybody started to know me a little bit about me. Hey, Linda. Oh, now they're trickling in. Beautiful. Lenny, I want to tell you, Maree has gone on my radar this past week because somebody has shared a video about, the SJWs are attacking again, and now they're attacking just because she got the permission to stay open. And thank the Lord you got the permission to stay open, because I think it is so important. I was just talking in this morning's live about, because we're going through such a global movement together, like we're all in we're all in this tragedy together. We're all in this same fear together. We're all moving in the same direction together. It gives a breeding ground for judgment, because we're all moving together. Now all of a sudden, I think it is a breeding ground for judgment, where people are like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I can't believe she's doing it that way. I can't believe you're doing that. I certainly wouldn't do that. This is everybody's like, why would you go to work? Why would you be this dangerous? Why would you have this opinion? All of a sudden, in this mass hysteria, I feel like this is a breeding ground for judgment. And I'm always like, this is the time we need to give everybody grace. If you've chosen to do something, if you've chosen to walk outside your house, when they, I was talking about my story, my daytime job, I work for a high-end textile weaving mill. And so our Pennsylvania state shut down last week. Yeah. So our mill was like, well, how do we keep our 100+ open? How do we keep these people employed? What do we do on our high end? How can we stay open, right? Small business and all. He's like,
how do you make wages? How do you pay the rent? How do you keep?
How do we do this? We don't want to put all these people out of business, out of work. They all rely on us. They all rely on our health insurance, because they all rely, you know what I mean, on our rent, on the things that the company pays for, our paychecks, you know what I mean, our food, everything. They know all that. So they came up with the fact that hospitals need masks right now. Obviously, we can't produce the N95 mask, but they need face mask, and nurses they're asking for. Hospitals are calling for anybody that sews to just whip up fabric and so they can put it over the nurse's face, right? So my boss and the design team, I work in the design team. I'm their studio coordinator. They're like, the designers whipped up something real fast to do weaving structures on how we can weave it and get it cut and so on. I spent yesterday, we have a very small team right now, because everybody is either social distancing, staying home, quarantine, but I'm one of those people that am not quarantining myself because I'm going to work, but I'm doing everything. I have an autoimmune disease. I inject a drug inside of me every 2 weeks that shuts down my immune system. So for me, it's it seems counterintuitive.
Every day you're putting
decisions that I'm making, right? But at the same time, I've weighed all my options very carefully. I don't want to go on unemployment. I don't want to collect. Our country is in a quadrillion debt, not trillion, quadrillion debt. I don't even have children that I'm protecting. You know what I mean? I don't even have heir and posterity that I'm protecting, but I know what the debt looks like for the children that are going to grow up to this quadrillion debt. I don't want to add to it. I'm not judging anybody that's doing it. I'm saying for myself, this is my decision, right? So, and everybody that can work from home at our company is working from home. So there is already quarantining and self-distancing happening, because it's like a skeleton crew going in, right? So I'm weighing all these in. I don't want people passing judgment on me that I'm being reckless and careless. No. I've weighed it over and over and over again. And everything I'm doing, I'm careful about. You know what I mean? And just like what you did, I'm sure with your decisions and how you came about it. And I'm like, this is the time where we need to give everybody grace for ourselves. I'm trying very hard to allow grace for myself, that I'm making the right decisions for myself and my family and the people that I work for and the community, because once we make these masks, we're donating them to our local hospitals, and then we'll see where else it goes, whatever we can do, If the company didn't have the forethought of that, we would be completely shut down. Yeah. And then what we would sit and wait, just like with you, with how you came about how to get yourself reopened, to help your client base, because they need that. You're asking crafters and older generations to stay in and not do anything.
Yeah. You brought up a couple of interesting points. So you mentioned before about assumption, and there's a lot of assumption that goes on. And the assumption is that, and particularly we have the assumption that people, this group is saying, but you shouldn't be open. Yarn isn't a necessity. It's not an essential. That everybody has stash. They should be knitting from stash. Actually, no, not everyone does have stash. And our opening is, we've been very clear about this. I'm doing, if you check out our YouTube channel, I'm doing a thing called the Quarantine Diaries. And on those diaries, one of the solid themes all the way through is how to actually knit what it is that we've already got to hand or at home. So you're not actually having to purchase anything. Because essentially a lot of our online businesses here are closed. It's only you have to get the special essential service or essential product status to be able to stay open. But we also service a lot of hospitals. We service customers for neonatal units, charities, and I have a lot of contact in the aged care area and sector. And that group, those groups who some are baby boomers, but some of them have lived through the world wars, especially World War II. And they're not hoarders, they're not stashers. They knit from project to project, or they may not have knitted for some time, and they're at home. All 70-plussers have been locked down. They've been told not to leave the house, and they're scared. They're genuinely terrified, and they're looking for something to keep their minds occupied, to take thought away, to just give them a moment's respite in a day. And so that's part of the reason that we wanted to be open, was primarily for that group. And so that group in itself, the amount of support that we've had from the aged care sector has been outstanding. It really has been quite amazing. And they have said, gosh, people, they forget about us. They forget about us. They just, they're locked away. They think, they're all safe. They're locked away in an aged care facility. You don't have, they'll be all right from the virus. But their mental health and well-being is just as important as anybody else's. So
absolutely.
So that's, so that was sort of part of the motivation why we move forward. And you mentioned before about what you're doing, and it's one of the things that frustrates me is self-responsibility. I really am a huge proponent of self-responsibility, and I'm like you, I'm an individualist. And if you act responsibly, and I'm part of this business. In fact, between my husband and I, we own 3 businesses. And so between the mill, the store, and the other business that we have, we're responsible for every single one of those lives. We employ every single one of those people. We, if something happens that to the health of our business, it affects the health of our employees. So whenever I get an attack from one of these SJWs calling or questioning our integrity, it's like, how dare you assume and question that I don't have that integrity, because I spend all this time working with an incredible team of people and, who rely on us to keep the lights on, the rent paid, and the ship sailing and the doors open. And at the moment, we can't do that. Our mill isn't able to be open, but we've been able to get the retail store open. We're encouraging people only to purchase if they need to, because we want to minimize that risk. But I've been accused of everything from, I've had someone say to me, how will you feel about having someone's death on your hands? Really? Is that where you're going to leap to with this? It's, where is your self-responsibility? And I think if you act, as you were saying before, if you act responsibly and if you act with grace, this is the time that you need to do that. I think you need to reflect on your behavior, because your behavior and your actions is what you can control. And don't turn into that person that you're accusing someone else down a keyboard of becoming. It's not nice. It's wrong.
It's so wrong. It's so wrong. It's funny because we're in the same discussion of this health and this what's going on with this crisis right now, and this lockdown and this whole, our self-quarantining, our choice of imprisoning ourselves. I'm constantly worried because I escaped a communist country. I know what, I mean. I know what government power and all that looks like. It just and self-quarantining, it borderlines martial law kind of, little states of shutting down businesses for, whatever reason. I just feel like, and I get why we do the things that we do, but I'm also a thinker and a questioner, and you know what I mean? And so you raise that question up, and all of a sudden, like my husband, who is a prolific American history enthusiast. He loves his Constitution. He loves the Declaration. He loves learning about all that stuff. And then he watches these little things, and he's like, so he can't even raise that question, because when he raises that question of what is this weird martial law kind of thing we're kind of traipsing on, right? He can't even raise that question, because all of a sudden they're like, well, I hope your family doesn't die of this. We're like, what kind of discussion are we having here? Well, there's not a discussion. You know what I mean? And we're not saying that this doesn't exist. We're not saying it's not. We're just bringing up a weird question of, hold on a second. Our freedoms are kind of getting, we're kind of getting, I'm kind of taking down. Can we ask that question?
Yeah. So for us, it's been a case of we've followed the rules. We've got we have a state of emergency declared in this country, and there are a lot of emergency powers that have been given to government and police that would normally not be the case. We are quite a socialist nation. So we have a lot of social welfare and care for our people that is not necessarily widely available in the United States. So, for example, free healthcare would be a really good example of that. And so a lot of the measures have been put into place to protect our healthcare system, because we're seeing that we're getting the video out of the US. We're seeing what's happening. We're seeing how necessity is becoming the mother of invention. And you have these companies like you designing face masks, and university engineering labs and scuba companies creating easy, simple respirators and all of these sorts of things. We are so lucky. As of today, we have 15 people in hospital, I think 3 in ICU, and 1 fatality is so far. So we have been incredibly, incredibly lucky, but we've also forward-footed, this crisis. As a business, all we did was follow the guidelines. And when people continually question your integrity. I mean, one comment I got was, well, it might be legal, but is it moral? Who gets to judge that morality? You?
Yeah. I'm sorry. What do we say? We're individuals, so we judge one human, right? If you can save one 83-year-old that's sitting in her room, stuck in and having to do a beautiful. I know this for a very fact, because one of the designers in our work, the first thing that she thought of was, in the immediate lockdown, was now her mom is stuck at home and she has no cross stitching. This is the time where, so my friend from work had to quickly round up whatever she had at her house and try to ship her latest. She had saved the silk yarn, the silk thread, you know what I mean? That for a very special project, very special day, that she just had to quickly ship over to her mom, because her mom is scared. She's stuck, and Diane can't get to her, And so she's like, my mom needs something to do. She needs a project to work on. If she didn't have that beautiful daughter that, you know what I mean, such that stuff, what happens to the other ones who didn't have a daughter to send her? You know what I mean? That's who you're saving. Like that's, and who is anybody to judge anything other than what you just had that forethought to do, you know? Like, just like the company that I work for, had they folded, because I was getting attacked just from like, why are we open? Why is this company open? Will you make high-end textile? You know, like what are you gonna, you know, if the owner didn't have that forethought to want to save the employees and save the economy from that, like he would have never had and the designers didn't have the intuitive to go, hey, wait a minute, they need fabric. We make fabric. Maybe we don't make that kind of fabric, but let's figure out, and we are smart designers and engineers, let's figure out how to engineer a great fabric. You know what I mean? Better than somebody that you're asking to whip up in the middle, you know, grab any cotton that you have in the house and whip it up and send it over to us.
I really hope that, you know, and I think, you know, look at all the, and I mean, your husband being a history buff, my husband's a history buff as well. And there is so much that you can learn from history. And, you know, look at all the innovation that came out after World War II. And I mean, people have questioned, and you say, you can't compare this to a war. Yeah, you can. A war. This is probably the first global war that we've had, and it's not the first time that it's happened. You know, there was the 1918 pandemic. This is a time where we're all suffering the same effects, and it will be intriguing. I will be really, really intrigued to see what innovation comes out after this pandemic, because I think that there is already signs of some incredible ingenuity of people, particularly in the care areas of medicine, especially like yourself with textiles. What else can we do? How do we, you know, because it is necessity is the mother of all invention. And I think we've been really lucky. Our generation hasn't seen that. We haven't experienced that. And it's as human beings, not only are we challenging ourselves to do our best during this pandemic, but I think we're challenging ourselves to fix it. We're challenging ourselves that how can we make this better? And that's why for these social justice warriors, I just challenge them, actually take a moment to look inwardly, because you're putting so much concentration on what is out there in the wider world. I think this could be a time to actually reflect and actually see what you can do at home yourself, and not be the time to actually pass that judgment out there, because we've all got so much going on. We don't need to be fighting those battles as well.
No, exactly. I'm like, grace right now is such and this judgment, like it's just, I want to talk about a little bit so the SJW. So when I came back in this round now, I keep telling my newer audience of who's finding me, I'm like, listen, I'm not about this. I don't live in the SJW world. I don't, you know, I make a video, I leave. I make a video, I leave. The rest of the time, you're looking at my YouTube channel. It's called Dare to Be Original. Everything, all my copy is all about creating and having the courage and creativity to be your authentic self. And my channel is all about learning and improving and growing. How do we show up our best version? I'm on that quest. Come join me and be on that quest with me. You know what I mean? And do it for yourself. Like, be creative, and anything that stops. I've taken it upon my role. I've realized over the years that anything that stops creativity is my enemy.
Yeah.
Anything that stops my creativity is my enemy. And I have a lot that stops my creativity. Myself stops my creativity. I know those. I know what my enemy looks like within myself that keeps me from creating. And I know how hard it is. Fear is one of them. Fear is the big one. Fear is the big one, the mother of all enemies that we all face. We all have our own versions of fear that keep us from being our best versions. And so now when my video started viral again, and I was seeing all this stuff, I'm like, because now more and more people are starting to speak up against these SJWs. They're starting to have the courage, and they're getting fed up with. They're no longer afraid of that, because now they're like, I don't care if my business goes under, I'm speaking up, just like what happened with Blue Mouse. And somebody else Nitty McPurley was another one. She's like, they're taking my joy away. I don't care if my business goes under. There was another video that went, I don't care if my business goes under. I'm speaking up. This is wrong. This is wrong. And so the more and more I realize, I'm like, okay, this is the cancer that I need to be removing. Clearly, this is the enemy that we need to be facing. And so when your video came up about what they're doing, I'm like, they'll just attack on anything. So I feel like recently my copies have been, okay, racism is wrong and it must look differently from, I'm like, so the only thing racist I've ever seen in our knitting community on social media, white people don't know how to apologize. Recently there was one, because now, because I said, you guys, I'm on an apology tour. I'm doing this. I'm removing the cancer. If I see a tumor, I'm removing the cancer. I'm tired. And we got a lot of doctors now in the house that are speaking up, and we're removing the cancer with, and clearly you're another doctor that that has just been recruited on the team, because you know what I mean? This is not the time to be nurturing this stupid cancer, this weird thing that we're dealing in the knitting community. This is not the time, right? No. So the other day I was flipping through, and somebody had pointed out to me an Asian designer, a very popular Asian designer. She has thousands and thousands of Instagram followers, right? And I think she's an artist more than she is a knitter, but she put a pattern out. And in the comment, I read it. In the comment, it said, she was a public page at the time. She wrote, white people can pay the rest.
Oh, yeah. This whole, if you're white, you have to pay. But if you consider yourself to be anything else in a minority,
anyone else can get it for free. And it was, and I looked at it and I was so, Maree, this was the first time in my new role, surgeon mask and all, in my new role to remove the cancer and to knock out the tumor. I went into the comment and I said, wow, I said, this is epic. This is racism in epic proportions. I said, I've never, I said, when you judge a human by the color of their skin, you are racist. There are no exceptions. This is a racist statement right here. And the whole time, like everybody who was like defending her and saying, I'm white and I'm happy to pay. And if you're white, then you don't get a say. Like they're literally saying that. I'm like,
what do they call that? I think they call that white guilt, don't they? They've got a term for everything. I don't keep up.
White guilt, white privilege. I'm like, I put a post out on privilege. Fragile privilege was my favorite, my highest liked post on Instagram, because I'm like, there is nobody that is not privileged. It's 2020. Everybody is privileged. If you're looking at my post on Instagram, you are privileged. If you are reading this post, you are privileged, right? As it is 2020. We all have everything at our fingertips. Every knowledge to grow and better and improve yourself is within the reach of your phone, and your best version is right here. Everybody has access to it. All you have to do is choose it. So to give power to another human being by calling them privileged and you not, then you've allowed yourself, you've taken the power away from yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And why would you choose that? Because that is on you. That is on you. And who would choose that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like the word marginalized. Oh my God. Indigenous. Marginalized. I'm like, if you were born, what makes you indigenous? If you're born in that country, aren't you indigenous? Like, if you're born in the country, weren't you from there? Aren't you indigenous? Like, do you have to be a certain color to be indigenous to America? Because I feel like, I mean, I'm an immigrant, so I'm not indigenous, but I'm going to say my husband is indigenous. His parents were born here. I think his grandparents might have been born here. He's born here. It does not make him indigenous. Like, what is this indigenous word all about? And marginalized. I'm like, why would you ever like this is the one part that was bothering me was when I first did that diversity video, there was several people that I followed, big accounts, like 100,000 plus accounts, right? So big accounts, 30, 50 plus. One of them was African American. And she, I just want to highlight people are crazy.
Crazy.
I just want to highlight, yeah, used to be crazy, right? She's an African American who at the time when that blog came out, she runs a huge knitting community, like they do live events. I think they have books out, this is a very popular, something that I would dream the Dare to Be Original community could grow to that masses, right? And the founder is African American, right? And so, when that whole thing came out last year, her copy was beautiful, and I was like, she was so graceful in her response to, you know what I mean? Like everybody, she was kind and cordial. And now because of this whole thing again, I'm like, let me see what she's doing these days, right? So I was looking at her copy, and her copy totally changed. So it's about being marginalized, and even though I'm doing all of this, I'm doing it with my less than self. It's kind of like, you know what I mean, like that kind of marginalized talk. And I'm just like, and I didn't have this privilege, but I'm working through it, and and I'm looking, I'm like, what the heck happened to her?
Yeah, it's the guilt that you project upon yourself, which is the most toxic.
It is. I'm like, what did she do? I'm like, she made a dent in the universe, and went farther than most people, all by her beautiful Black self. And now she's like this marginalized human being, struggling. And I'm just like, what happened to her power? Where did her power go? It's because she's swimming in that muck.
And that's one of the things that I feel like, because you see somebody like that, and she has fallen into that paradigm where her power is that she was a successful woman doing what she was doing, and her power was the color of her skin was irrelevant. And they have made the color of her skin relevant. And by making the color of her skin relevant, all of a sudden, she's given all of these social tropes that she's probably expected to labor under, when the reality of it is it didn't matter. She was amazing. She was successful. She was doing what she was doing. And so what if she happened to be African American? She was powerful. And that just really knocks my knickers. It does. It just upsets me greatly.
It totally does. This is why I'm like, okay, now we've got to remove because our beautiful creative world has gone to, we're in epic proportion. Like, this is in the 80s when I was growing up, knitting was like a grandma sport.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. This is an old lady sport. And so I was like, it's not cool to learn to knit and crochet. Like, you've got to be 90, you know what I mean, to knit and crochet. It was not a cool sport. Now, 5 years ago, when I started knitting and crocheting, I'm seeing like these beautiful, like modern, like we have so many amazing, talented knitters and crocheters. But not only do we have amazing, talented knitters and crocheters doing modern, beautiful stuff, they're in their 20s.
Yeah.
They're in their teens and their 20s, like killing it in this world, doing this craft and putting their own spin and their own art into the world. Yeah. Like, this is like such a great time to be a creative, you know what I mean? And to allow this kind of tumor to keep growing and metastasizing. I was like, I'm done. We cannot do this anymore. We can't allow them to grow like this. They've, SJW's just recently attacked someone who, 84-year-old man. I just talked about it in my live this morning. Sestari Yarns. He dyes and spins and something. He's been an entrepreneur since he was 16, selling farm stuff, and then he learned to work with knits. And his basic thing was, he was saying how we've been importing so much from China, you know what I mean? And now with this, you know what I mean? This is the time that we embrace American made. This is the time that we embrace made in America. He's been made in America for so long. He's like, this is the time. So he stated like what the communist regime is doing in that country. It's facts. He didn't say any opinions. I read the email. It's facts. He said the communist country, the communist regime is doing this in this country, and now it's seeping into our world. This is the time, because we import so much from China.
Yeah, well, we're the same. Yeah.
Everybody, when this happened in January, I remember looking at my husband and I said, this is going to be the real test. This is going to be the interesting test when this hits the U.S. and when the border starts shutting down. We're going to really see, the U.S. is going to really get their eyes opened as to how much we import.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know that I was I was at Stitches West, which was in Santa Clara in mid-February, late February. And I spent a lot of time walking around the show there, and it was incredible to see how little was American made. So there were some really incredible artisans, and a lot of the American made product was primarily in the areas of things like bowls and cups and mugs and accessories for knitting. There was a lot of handmade, handcrafted, local made products in that respect. But when it came to actual yarn, there is very little on the American made in the landscape. You could almost count the number of mills of any size on one hand.
Right.
And I feel for those mills, because I really do genuinely hope that they are able to survive through this crisis, because there was just beginning to be a little bit of a groundswell with them, and partially they were gaining that momentum with businesses that have a very high social, and not social justice, but a social awareness about supporting local artisans, about supporting local businesses, about supporting local growers, and they were doing that. I mean, in New Zealand, we have that too. And I mean, for us as a worsted spinning mill, we're the last of our kind left in New Zealand. It has literally been survival by attrition. And so it is really, really, really tough out there. And so I just hope that once we get through the other side of all of this, that we're able to look and reflect back and go, okay, that was then. What have we learned from this? What learnings, what positives can we take from this? What creativity can we take from this? What improvements or efficiencies can we take from this? Implement them into what we're doing, and then actually move forward to get all our economies back off the ground, to help ourselves and empower ourselves to be able to do what we need to do. Now, I feel really awful, but I have to go.
No, oh my God, thank you so much.
No, I have a 3:00 date with my children. We play board games every day at 3 p.m. So,
oh my God. Maree, thank you so much for doing this. This has been amazing. You guys, I found her green light on Instagram, and I said, I'm going to message her and say, hey, is now a good time? Because she's what time are you?
So it is 2:52 p.m. on Sunday afternoon.
And I am 10:50 p.m. on Saturday evening.
Night, yeah.
This has been such a magic moment. Thank you so much for doing this. We have to do this again, because we could talk all day.
I will take you. Thank you so much for having me, Vone. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. God bless, guys. Come back, like, share, and go follow her YouTube channel.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.